The Twisha Sharma death case has entered a legal battle, shifting sharply from the investigating room to the courtroom. Multiple proceedings are currently unfolding before the Madhya Pradesh High Court, even as the SIT probe continues amid mounting public scrutiny and serious allegations of mental cruelty, harassment and abetment. In a significant development, Samarth Singh has once again moved court seeking anticipatory bail despite remaining on the run. During the hearing, his legal team questioned the conduct of the investigation itself, raising objections over the police decision to announce and subsequently increase the reward for his arrest. Simultaneously, Twisha Sharma's family is approaching the High Court seeking cancellation of anticipatory bail granted to mother-in-law Giribala Singh. The family is also pushing for a second post-mortem, arguing that crucial questions surrounding Twisha's death remain unresolved and require deeper forensic scrutiny. However, a Bhopal court has already rejected the plea for a second autopsy, observing that there is currently no material on record to suggest collusion between the accused and the AIIMS Bhopal medical team that conducted the first post-mortem. Yet, the court made a significant observation on another sensitive issue: the prolonged preservation of Twisha's body in the mortuary. The court directed police to urgently identify facilities capable of maintaining lower temperatures to prevent further decomposition, underscoring the unusual and emotionally charged circumstances surrounding the case. With competing legal strategies, demands for custodial action, calls for fresh forensic examination, and questions over the credibility of the probe itself, the Twisha Sharma death case is rapidly escalating into a high-stakes legal confrontation. I'm being joined by IPS Gurinder Singh Dhillon, former ADGP Law and Order, Punjab; Rekha Agarwal, advocate for Supreme Court and a social activist; Preeti Banerjee, author and social activist. Thank you so much. Gurinder Singh Dhillon, let me come to you. You wanted to make a point, sure, make that point, but also a very simple question. Just the irony and the mockery of the system. Samarth is absconding. There's a bounty of 30,000 rupees on his head. It was a 10,000 rupee bounty first announced, and now it's a 30,000 rupee bounty that has been announced by the police. He's on the run, and he has moved court yet again for another anticipatory bail.
Neha, of course, before I come to your question, I would just like to add, because in continue to what the respected fellow panelists were saying, I totally agree. I just want to add that freedom of speech does not include the freedom to deliberately destroy the dignity of the family. Absolutely. That is never permitted. And that also recklessly, without having any supported evidence. She is delivering statements as if she is sitting in a trial court with the material evidence before her and speaking like that. This is totally unbecoming. And the statements which she is making, that totally interfere with the investigation. They intimidate the witnesses and incite hostility, and all this, and obstruction, and all this involve criminal liability. So the offenses need to be added with beyond doubt. Now coming to your point that why this Samarth, this husband, the accused, the main accused, is still not in police hands. He is not an organized criminal. Police has got every means at their disposal, including human intelligence, technical surveillance. It is not possible, I am very sure, if I was the investigator, he would not have stayed beyond the police reach as many days as this has passed. This is totally unbecoming and clearly shows there is something going on which is beyond the reach of this victim family. Third point, it is coming that this victim family is going to apply for cancellation of the bail of this lady. Now, what is the SIT doing? What is this investigation team doing? Why are not they themselves approaching the court and telling, please cancel the bail? Because we want to do the custodial interrogation. There is sufficient subsequent evidence. She has destroyed the evidence. It is not possible to come without custodial interrogation. And let the advocate of the victim support the prosecution, because in this case, prosecution and the victim are of the same side. I feel this case needs to be handed over to somebody where it is independent. It's not, I'm not saying only to CBI. If it goes to CBI, I'm very happy. But at the same time, High Court can very well constitute a separate set of IPS officers from the neighboring state, and let it be monitored by some senior judge, because this case has become probably a rarest of rare case. How will you define the rarest of rare case? This is the biggest example of the rarest of rare case.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, Rekha Agarwal, I just want to very quickly take this question to you. I'm also being joined by Dr. Sonal Mansingh, the former member for Rajya Sabha, who's also a Padma Vibhushan. We'll be getting her shortly. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ms. Sonal Mansingh, for joining us. Just give me a moment, Ms. Sonal Mansingh, if that's okay with you. I was just asking a question to Advocate Rekha. Advocate Rekha, a very quick question to you, and I want to take this from you because we were just discussing about how Samarth is on the run. He's on the run with a 30,000 bounty over him, and he's gone moving the court for anticipatory bail. His mother, a retired judge, came in the public and said he has a right to protect his liberty. What are these two extreme ends?
They have to be balanced in a judicial manner and a holistic manner. No doubt, the fundamental rights which are enshrined in the Constitution give you a right to apply for anticipatory bail and apply to the Sessions Court, to the High Court, and even to the Supreme Court if that be the situation. But in a situation like this, which is before us, where Samarth, he has lost his wife, he's just been married for 5 months, and his behavior, his human behavior does not inspire confidence. No doubt, his mother is right when she's saying that, you know, he's entitled to be on the run and apply for anticipatory bail. But at the same time, no court, you know, I'm quite certain, and I do have the faith in a judicial system, that in such a situation, no court is going to apply him anticipatory bail until he surrenders and joins the investigation. And look at him here. On one hand, he loses his wife, and on the other hand, he's left his mother, you know, all alone over there, you know, and she's got anticipatory bail because of the clout that she enjoys in the you know, having been a former judge herself. And now she's the one who's now, you know, taking the media and making, you know, all sorts of derogatory statements about her daughter-in-law, and also trying to protect her son, who, instead of being a law-abiding citizen, and mind you, he's also an advocate. He should be, as an officer of the court, it is his duty to now surrender and join the investigation. And this is a fifth case where, as Mr. Dhillon said, custodial interrogation is required of both the mother and the son. Until that is done, the truth is not going to come to light.
Right, absolutely. Gurinder Singh Dhillon, Rekha Agarwal and Preeti Banerjee. So sorry, Ms. Preeti, I couldn't come to you for a second question. But thank you, all three of you, for joining me with some very, very important perspectives. Questions that remain unanswered. I'm being joined at this point by Dr. Sonal Mansingh. Thank you so much for joining us. Heartbreaking conversations that are coming out in public domain, conversations between mother-in-law and the brother of Twisha, words that possibly are very shameful, conversations that are very shameful, a whole lot of concerns around how this is happening in our country even now, and about how influence possibly is being wrongly used. Dr. Sonal Mansingh, how do you really look at this? You, with all your experience, how do you really look at this?
Very sorry state of affairs. As you said, in our country, this is happening even today. What really has happened that will come to light as the investigation is carried on. But the prima facie case as it appears through the media clearly shows the complicity of mother and son. As you said, that if the son is on the run, if he's not done anything wrong, why should he be on the run? Let the investigation happen very, very quickly. But in the meanwhile, a very beautiful, talented, vibrant life has been snuffed off. Reasons could be anything, from internal quarrel to dowry demands to incompatibility. But was she done with, or did she commit suicide? Even that aspect is yet to come out. Be that as it can be, I think we need to really now wake up to women's rights, woman's adhikar to be herself. She marries into a family, she leaves her own family, she tries to adjust. This is the story of every woman who marries, even if she is very ultra-modern.
Oh, in this
There
case,
has to be some
I'm sorry
consideration.
interrupting you because you mentioned this case, mentioned this point of being ultra-modern. One of the statements that Ms. Giribala made to the media, she actually went on to say that my bahu was liberal. And she loved kids but did not want to have kids. She loved plants but did not want to water those plants. Who goes and speaks like this after somebody's death? I mean, I'm not doing a media trial here. That's not my purpose at all. And I'm not even indicting her. But a simple thing, who has these conversations in public domain after you've lost your daughter-in-law who's died by suicide?
Exactly. Doesn't it say something about the mother-in-law? That there's a kind of cruelty in there. There's a kind of indifference. There's a kind of intolerance. You don't allow the person to be what she is, trying to slowly make her understand what you expect from her. But to condemn her like this in public, and as you said, after she's no more, it just shows the limits to which mind can go, a woman's mind can go. After all, the mother-in-law is also a woman. She was also a daughter-in-law at one time. How do they forget that we are there to support each other? She has left her mother, now you are the mother. And this is not happening. When it doesn't happen, then such things happen. My God, I cannot imagine what Twisha must be going through, what she would have gone through. Who wants to die? Who wants to die when life is spreading roses in front of you? But here there were more thorns, perhaps, than roses. It would be fair to say that, as you said, no media trial, no public trial. Let facts come out. Whatever they are, it's a very, very, very tragic happening. And I think the family, the parents' family, also should sit up and they need to understand those messages.
Right.
I believe that she was sending messages that,
Absolutely. In fact, I want to ask you this question
happy.
because this is very important. This is very important, and I want to get your opinion on this. Dr. Sonal Singh, there were messages after messages to the family. Take me back. Messages to the mother. I don't want to sound cruel because this is obviously a very agonizing situation at this point. Looking back, a lot of things could have been done. Even the family would have possibly done something very differently. There were SOS messages. They were like, why are you sending me back here? I'm again being mistreated. Main pagal ho jaungi yahan pe. There were all these kinds of messages which actually are red flags. But then you have families who would want to step in and want things to happen, want, to repair things, for relationships to sort themselves out and not to interfere more than what is required. This is so toxic in itself, and it's so ingrained somewhere in the Indian psyche and culture that we just have to break free. And I think if this case doesn't get us through that, it's going to be a very sorry state.
It's a very delicate balance Is the parents interfering, or parents are trying to balance the situation? Because very often we also see parents who direct their daughter's life all the time, and the daughter, more than being with her husband, goes back to the mother. That also I have seen among my own friend circle. So it's a very delicate balance that has to be tread. This is where I think counseling is very, very important. Counseling for the parents as well as the daughter, who's become a daughter-in-law. Do we have such facilities? I'm sure there are many counseling centers, but I think now they'll have to be pinpointed, because marital discord is something that can go to such ugly limits. It takes away the joy of life, the happiness, snuffs out lives. And once life gone, never comes back. I would also say, as I said, counseling for parents, counseling for in-laws, counseling for the couple.
But the thing is, it's easier said than done, and I understand where you're coming from. Which parent, which in-law is going to go for counseling? They're going to say, "Arey, we've had a marriage, now you're taking us." Imagine, I do not want to sound rude, but imagine somebody reaching out to Giribala and saying, "Why don't you come for counseling?"
Ego. I think there is a lot of ego also involved, and a lot of social dikhawa. Okay, you know, why does she have to go for counseling? Oh, she's going for counseling.
Anybody, any set of parents for that matter.
I know. But then I'm just putting it across for everyone to think about, you know, कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं as a society, as a support system. कुछ तो करना होगा ना.
Absolutely.
ये ठीक है, पुलिस केस करेगा, ये बंद होगा, जो होगा, आगे जो होगा. But one after another, that Bhopal case also happened. And these are the cases that have come out. What about those that are happening all around?
Right. Right. And I think I'll just add one thing that I very strongly believe in. Beti is never paraya dhan. Thank you very much, Dr. Sonal Mansingh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I think very, very important conversations. Thank you so much. The investigation into the Twisha Sharma death case is intensifying, with Bhopal police stepping up efforts to trace absconding accused Samarth Singh. The reward has been increased to 30,000 rupees after a lookout circular that had already been raised against him. This is what the police commissioner has had to say. Let's just very quickly listen in.
हम तो पूरी कोशिश कर रहे हैं जल्दी से जल्दी गिरफ्तार करने की. हमने इनाम भी बढ़ा दिया है. ये सीसीटीवी फुटेज वो सब का हम एक्सपर्ट के पास भेजते हैं उसके प्रॉपर एग्जामिनेशन के लिए. एक्सपर्ट की रिपोर्ट आती है और वो हमारे इन्वेस्टिगेशन का हिस्सा होता है. अभी तो ये है कि कुछ लोगों ने सीसीटीवी अपनी पर्सनल कैपेसिटी में देखे और कई तरह के सवाल उठा रहे हैं. उसमें एक्सपर्ट की रिपोर्ट आ जाएगी और एक्सपर्ट की जैसी रिपोर्ट आएगी उस हिसाब से हम कार्रवाई करेंगे.
I'm being joined at this point by A.K. Jain, former DGP Uttar Pradesh, Sonali Shah, who's an activist as well as an advocate with Supreme Court. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. A.K. Jain, straight to you. Is this musical chairs with justice? Why do I ask this? A 30,000 rupees bounty, a husband, an accused in this case, an advocate on the run. How does one put these two things together?
It is correct on the part of police to raise the bounty. It should have been raised to at least 1 lakh of rupees, so that the message is absolutely clear to the family and to the accused. So as far as police functioning is concerned, I agree with this, that bounty has been increased. But as far as investigation is concerned, it's going on, and naturally at every step forensic science, forensic laboratory examination will be there, and they will take all possible precautions, because a legal family is involved. Son is also an advocate, mother was a retired, as far as I know, retired district judge. So all possible precautions and legal luminaries will be there from both sides and so all possible precautions should be taken, and must be and they must be taking it, that all precautions should be taken so that there is no mishandling in court of law. Evidence will have to be collected, as you said, that so many messages are there from the girl's side to the parents. That is very, very crucial evidence and clinching evidence, in my opinion, because such messages are rare, and otherwise they keep on complaining orally. But in this case, she was sending messages which will mean a lot, and no court can ignore them in the country.
Right. Sonali Shah, if I can come to you, there are obviously lapses that are coming day in and day out, lapses with respect to even how the FIR was filed at least 38 hours late. And if you're talking about FIR which has been filed 38 hours late in a case as sensitive as this, then you also have the other aspect of it. Did you actually go ahead and shield the accused husband in this case? Didn't this immediately mean that he got adequate time to flee, to plan his next moves, to figure out his whereabouts, when actually he should have been possibly detained?
See, I think it is very much evident from the records that have been brought into knowledge recently that Ms. Giribala Singh, who is also the retired judge, after this incident made around 20 to 30 odd calls, which is alleged to be to some influenced people like retired judges, people who are operating CCTV. So obviously, being a part of that system, very much the accused has been protected, and the accused himself, being a criminal lawyer who knows everything about law, still is absconding. That itself raises a point that because he is absconding, that means he's very much aware that he is under the radar. He's under the bus. Because being a criminal lawyer...
Let me just get in here to ask you a question. Sonali Shah, does this really mean that he knows he's under the radar? Or does it really mean that he can very conveniently get away? What is it that he knows and he's more confident about?
He knows that he's under the radar. This is why he's absconding. If he knew that he could run away so easily, he wouldn't be absconding. He would be participating in the investigation. And considering, as Sir mentioned, that we already have text messages wherein it sets the background, the kind of life Twisha was living in that home, that very much conveys her status, her sustenance in that home. No matter what is being said about her mental health or drugs use, I am under the impression that everything is being wrongly projected, only to be able to portray a picture that it was Twisha who is at fault and not the family. But the reality is something else. A girl has died. She was married for a few months, and now you are slandering a dead person. And that too, a person who herself is a woman and has held a position as a retired judge in the system. So rather, you should be very much careful in the usage of your words.
I just want to ask you, A.K. Jain, Giribala is out on anticipatory bail. Hasn't she flouted the anticipatory bail norms? Because you're supposed to not influence cases. The manner in which she has come out, some may argue that it's her right to respond because she's countering the allegations that are coming from the other side. But the other side is not out on anticipatory bail. She is.
I don't know what conditions had been laid down by the judge at the time of granting of anticipatory bail. If this condition is there that she will not interfere with the investigation of the case, then she has flouted the directions, and her bail can be...
Isn't that a given?
Her bail can be cancelled on that ground, and should be cancelled.
Sonali Shah, isn't that a given that you cannot influence the case even if it is not categorically mentioned in your anticipatory bail conditions, that you will not reach out to the family, you will not interfere with the case? Isn't this part of the legal judiciary framework, or what she has done doesn't automatically get viewed like that legally? What is this about? Because if this is influencing case, then why is she out on anticipatory bail again? Why isn't that cancelled already?
As per my opinion, ideally she should not have been granted an anticipatory bail. The grant of bail here very much is an impact of...
Why do you say that? Why shouldn't she get anticipatory bail?
She is a co-accused in the case. She is the person who is charged with abetment of suicide. There have been evidences in the background. It is not that it is just allegations. There are conversations. There are call records. The girl has been retrieved in a different situation. And other than that, if you look at the way the postmortems were conducted, the belt that was used for the news, that was never sent for postmortem for first few hours. The body is being stored at minus 40 degrees, minus 4 degrees centigrade instead of minus 80. Everything that you can talk about which is important for investigation, for the procedure, has been done in a rotten manner. So yes, she should not have been granted that anticipatory bail because she herself is a co-accused and there is sufficient evidence on record which requires her to be answerable. And other than that also, she being a person who holds position and power, she is very much under a situation to influence the investigation. That becomes another reason why she should not be left out like this on anticipatory bail, and her anticipatory bail should have been cancelled. And I'm sure Twisha's lawyer would be appealing to the higher court for cancellation of her bail.
Totally out of time, but AK Jain, your last remarks on this.
In my opinion, one will have to see whether all possible records were produced in the court opposing anticipatory bail or not. What all records were produced in the court opposing the bail? That is very important. Suppose no papers were produced, the way there is lacuna right from the beginning, especially that belt was not sent for post-mortem examination and it was sent later on, all these things. And if these messages were not produced before a court of law, in my opinion, had they been produced before a court of law, court would not have dared to grant anticipatory bail. Otherwise, also, I can say that a favor has been shown to her because she has been part of judiciary, and that's why she has been granted anticipatory bail. Otherwise, such bails are almost impossible to get in this country.